A military man with a huge belly came to a hospital. When the doctor performs an ultrasound, he finds out that he is pregnant with twins. Violates all the laws of science. But when the baby is born, a shocking detail of the story was revealed. The doctor fainted. "I need help. Can anyone help?" The soldier shouted at the entrance to the hospital. At the same time, he supported another soldier with a big belly. Enter the reception. Dr. Michael had just put on his white coat. The first inspection of the shift was checked. Another scream rang out in the hospital. A cry of pain was loud and desperate. But with him as an obstetrician, the shouts that used to be heard in the hallway were different. "This is not issued by a woman in labor," was a male scream. The voice was full of panic and pain. The obstetrician was terrified. "Throw the papers on the table." The stethoscope hangs around his neck. Shoes on the cold floor. Run through the hospital corridors. Limp into the reception hall. He stopped suddenly. I was stunned by the surreal scene in front of me. The soldiers stood at the entrance of the hospital. One of them was noticeably younger. Under 25 years old. Stand up with difficulty. Hunched back. A pained expression on his face. He was wearing a military uniform. But it's impossible not to notice the most striking thing about his appearance. His belly was round and big. Big outrageous. Big and prominent. It looks like a woman's belly at the end of pregnancy. It took the doctor a second to understand what he was seeing. "Oh my God. Is that possible?" The man was pregnant. He muttered to himself, then ran to the soldier stretcher. "Get a stretcher," he shouted to the nurse nearby. While waiting, he knelt before the young man. "Try to stay calm. Ask how you're feeling. Can you tell me what's going on?" The soldier's name was Hannah. "Holding your stomach with your hands." His eyes were full of pain. In the midst of moaning, he replied, "Doctor, I'm in pain. Here. It hurts too much here." Next to him, another man who was also in uniform. He introduces himself as Ethan, and tried to maintain your posture. Explained a few months ago. His belly started to get bigger. I insisted that he come here, but he always said it was nonsense. Earlier today, he complained more. But now the pain becomes unbearable. He couldn't even stand up straight. "Doctor, he has something in his stomach. You don't know what." When the stretcher arrives, Manritti and the nurses help the soldier lift his big belly. The moment when the body settles down, the doctor put his hand on his lower abdomen. Something was felt. Instinctively, he took a step back. There was indeed movement there. He whispered, "It's almost unbelievable." He held out his hand again, carefully pressed on the other side of his abdomen. The next second, his fingers were gently pushed by something. He felt it. It's like being kicked by a baby. Dov Michael took a step back, stared at Hannah's stomach in surprise. This doesn't make sense," he stammered. Although he is an obstetrician, he has followed hundreds of pregnant women. Although he knows how the fetus works in the womb, but this situation left him speechless. It was a man. Men don't get pregnant. He lost no time in commanding, "Let's take him to the office. You need to check him out now." With the help of Ethan and the care team, they pushed the stretcher to an empty office. Ina groaned in pain. It is also becoming more and more difficult to breathe. When they arrive, Ethan asked the doctor, "Can I stay here? He's my friend. I don't want him to go through it all alone." Dov Michael nodded. He replied, "Of course. But please stand aside. Don't interfere. Wait for the two of them to be alone." The doctor pulls out a clipboard. "Look at Hannah. Seriously, before considering painkillers, I need to understand what's going on first. You tell me, how long ago did this belly start to grow? What exactly does this pain feel like?" Hannah replied breathlessly, "Doctor, it's been 8 months. Ethan was always been there for his friends." The situation is explained in more detail. It looked like it was swollen at first, but then it started to get bigger. He started feeling pain the other day. He said it felt like heart palpitations. Something seems to be moving. Dr. Michael listened and took notes, but his expression was denied. That's impossible, he thought. In his opinion, The only assumption is, maybe for some reason, he is caring for a transgender person. Maybe Hannah was born female. This can be explained. Anatomy hesitated. He took a deep breath. Asked Hannah as respectfully as possible. If the question seems impolite, please forgive me, but you were born a man. Hannah was about to speak, was interrupted by Ethan. Ethan stepped forward, obviously uncomfortable with this suggestion. Are you asking if it's a woman? Doctors are men. I've known this man for many years. We worked together like soldiers. We took a shower in the same locker room. I spent all our time together. It's impossible. Hannah's face was still twisted in pain. Stammered. Yes, I'm a man. It always has been. Dr. Michael was confused. He stroked Hanshi's forehead with his hand. Nose to Hannah's belly again. He touched it lightly. Another kick. It's true. Ethan stepped forward to speak. Almost convincing myself. It can't be pregnant. Doctor. Impossible. Dr. Michaelady, I replied calmly. It's almost like talking to yourself. Then explain it to me. Something is kicking. This is exactly what pregnant women are in the 8th month, or the feeling at the 9th month. It was at that moment. The doctor made a decision. Now I need to take action. Let's go to the ultrasound room now and see what's inside. He immediately began to push the stretcher in a hurry. Hannah shouted, Doctor, do you really feel the need for it? I'm not pregnant. Definitely not. Half Michael why didn't stop. Answered, whether pregnant or not. We all need to know what's in your stomach. It can only be seen by ultrasound. Ethan frowned. Hannah let out another cry of pain. Well, doctor, hurry up. I just can't take it anymore, the outrageously big-bellied soldier said. So, the three of them continued through the hallway. Every step is full of mystery. The doctor reflected. Although the corridors of the hospital seem to be whispering, a question that no one can answer. Regardless of how drive. Michael T. struggles to stay rational. He couldn't shake the thoughts that were swirling in his head. Now would like to believe another explanation. He desperately searched for a reason that wasn't ridiculous. But there is nowhere to run. Everything shows that she is pregnant. The shape of the abdomen, movement inside, kicking, all the signs were in front of his eyes. The ultrasound chamber felt colder than usual. Silence. Heavy. It's almost suffocating. Menti walked into the stretcher. Took a deep breath. Grabbed the gel. Began to apply it to Hannah's huge abdomen. When feeling the cold gel, when it comes into contact with his skin, the soldier cringed a little. But he didn't say anything. He just closed his eyes. Try to bear all the pain that seems to be coming from all over your body. The obstetrician takes over the transducer of the ultrasound machine. Looked at the two of them with a serious face. Are you ready to see what's out there? He asked softly, as if afraid to get an answer. Hannah hesitated. There was no answer. Just biting his lip. I closed my eyes. Ethan, who was next to him, looked impatient. Restlessness. Wow, doctor, please, put an end to this. But you see, it's not pregnancy. No way. It's crazy. The doctor didn't say anything. Just put the illusion on Hannah's stomach. Images began to appear on the screen. But first it was just a shadow of uncertainty. But something appeared a few seconds later, so that the doctor almost lost his balance. He had to grab the stretcher. His eyes and mouth were open. Two small bodies appear in the center of the screen. Two fetuses. Two twin babies. My God. Dr. Michael whispered. As for approaching, opened his eyes in surprise. What is that? Is that so? Is that what I think? Mireille nodded slowly. Still shocked. Yes. Hannah is pregnant. And not a child. It's two kids. It's a twin. Sayu covered her mouth with her hand. Can't suppress the fear in your heart. He had attended his wife's ultrasound in the past. Now to see a baby in someone else's womb. What it's like. These images are strange as they are, but in the context of the time, it was undeniable. They are living babies. There's a heartbeat. There's an arm. There are legs. Hannah moved on the stretcher. Shake your head vigorously. No, no. This is not right. I knew something wasn't right. It's not pregnancy. It's impossible. Mari's eyes were glued to the screen, but replied firmly, "This device doesn't lie. It shows exactly what's going on there. And it's two babies shown. Two big babies." Before the doctor could react, Hannah screamed. Screaming before. A scream that was even more painful than before. His body arched off the stretcher. Hold the stretcher tightly with both hands. His eyes widened with pain. Suddenly, a whitish-yellowish liquid began to run down the stretcher. It's onto the floor. Manti walked closer. The eyes are wide open. "My amniotic water broke," he whispered. Everyone in the room looked at each other. A dazed face. No one knows exactly where that one came from, but there is no doubt about it. It's amniotic fluid. The doctor is very familiar. That smell. That color. I've seen it dozens of times, but never from a man. From that moment on, the obstetrician goes into automatic mode. She has a lot of experience facing the impending delivery. No matter how surreal it is, she won't hesitate. "I'll take her to the operating room now. Hurry up," Vintry shouted. She was already pushing the stretcher with the help of a nurse. Hannah is still in shock. Something to say. "I'm not pregnant. I can't. This is a mistake." But her body doesn't think so. The contractions become very intense. Sweat ran down his face. His heart was racing. As for the annoyance, he couldn't help but shake his head. "It doesn't make sense. Hannah is my friend. He grew up with me. We worked together. I saw him in rest many times. A man was born. That's impossible." "No way." Mantra quickly turned to him, said firmly, "Wait outside. I'll let you know when it's done. We need to find a way to get these babies out. Labor is about to start now." "Labor?" Ethan whispered. "You're talking about labor. There is no excuse." And he obeyed, staggered towards the entrance of the hospital. At the same time, Hannah was taken to the operating room. The atmosphere is lively. The equipment is ready. Darth Michael puts on his gloves, but placed the scalpel next to the table. Begin to lay out the instruments needed for the C-section. The soldier saw the scalpel. "I opened my eyes. What are you going to do with this?" she asked, horrified. "A C-section is the only thing that gets the baby out of there." "Method," Britt Y replied solemnly. "The only safe way." Hannah had contractions. Shouted, "No wait, I don't want a C-section." The obstetrician frowned in bewilderment. "Hannah, this is not an easy choice. You're in labor. There is no other way. If I do get pregnant, then I will give birth to my baby through natural childbirth," he shouted, interrupting the surprised doctor. "Dr. Eve." Michael exchanged glances with the anesthesiologist, but before he could defend himself, Hannah began to undo the belt he was still wearing. "Con army pants." He worked hard. "Sweat until you succeed in removing them completely." What happened next surprised everyone. The anesthesiologist puts down what he is doing. Nurse covered her mouth with her hand. Another nurse took 2 steps back. Dr. Michael opened his eyes in surprise. In front of them, one detail about Hannah can explain a lot. The detail he's been hiding. This is a detail that no one expected. The silence lasted only a few seconds, because soon Hannah screamed again. A louder, more urgent scream. "They're about to be born. Sorry. They're about to be born now." In this moment, the entire surgery center team panicked. They rushed to come, but to understand that ridiculous moment. Biological male is about to give birth to twins. You have to go back in time. Back before Hannah's belly began to grow. Back to when everything seemed normal. Cloudy morning. It's hot. The sky was covered with thick clouds. Was a sign that it was going to rain. Ethan stood next to the military bus. The bus will carry the soldiers to the airport. They will be there. Sent to a military base located in the heart of the jungle. Perform another task. The task of survival requires more spirit, and not the body. Other soldiers had already boarded the car. Some are chatting. Some are sleeping. It was only Ethan standing outside, restless. He frowned alone, with the phone in his hand, stared at the scene silently. There was a reason for his hesitation. His good friend Hannah hadn't arrived yet. and their departure time is almost up. That's when Sergeant Davis appeared. Cross your arms. Gaze firm. Obvious impatience. Soldier. We're ready to go, he commanded. The young soldier spoke to him in a worried tone. Sir, Hannah hasn't arrived yet. He's already tried calling and texting. Disappeared since Friday. This is not normal. Sergeant. Davis snorted. There seems to be no patience to deal with this kind of thing. That's because he's not responsible. We'll take care of him later. But now we're going to catch a plane. We don't wait for anyone to get on the bus. That's an order. Dunn looked at the sergeant, apparently uncomfortable with this order. But before he could react, more authoritative voice, right behind him. What's going on? It's Captain Blackwood. Tall stature, broad shoulders. The expression is serious. He must have been in his early 50s. But his appearance immediately aroused respect. He's the kind of person who doesn't need to raise his voice. It will be a person who is scared. Finally, he quickly turned around and saluted. Captain. Private denied boarding. Claimed to be waiting for another soldier who did not show up. Capt. Blackwood's eyes narrowed. Look at Ethan. Who the hell is it? Mr. Hannah. He has been missing since Friday. I'm worried about him. Never done this before. We've been friends for a long time. He doesn't usually do that. The captain sighed deeply. It's as if I've heard too many excuses. In fact, we still have a name that has not yet been registered. Hannah. But we're running out of time. If he doesn't show up, we don't need him. And preferably when he appears. He has a good one. Explain. Ethan tries again. Sir, I have known Hannah for a long time. He was never late. Something must have happened. It's true? But Captain Blackwood was indifferent to this. Enough is enough. Get in the car. The flight is about to take off. Ethan couldn't help it. I can only nod. Yes, sir. As he spoke, he walked towards the car door. When he walked up the stairs, he almost muttered to himself, What happened to you? Light. The driver has already turned the key. Suddenly, a scream rang out in the air. Please wait a moment. Wait a minute. Everyone turned their heads at the same time. A figure came running in the distance, hurrying closer. But he tripped over his own foot. It's him. It's Hannah. He was dressed in military uniform. But it looks like he's sweating profusely. Dyspnea. Even if it's far away, Nat can also see that his face is a little strange. Ethan immediately stood up from his seat. Wait. It's Hannah, he shouted as he pointed to the people outside. Driver. Stop the car. Open the car door. The soldier hurried up the stairs. I wiped the sweat from my forehead with my shirt. The sergeant and the captain looked at each other. The expression was shocked. Seems to have sensed the anomaly. Captain Blackwood steady. Step in and come face to face with young soldiers. Do you know what trouble you're in? Where is Hannah? Hannah took a breath before replying. Sir, I had an accident. At least that's what I think. On Friday, I left the barracks. And I just remember waking up in the hospital. I had a headache and was delirious. Hospitalized. I came out. Tomorrow. But when I see the time, it just ran away. Now I couldn't afford to miss this mission. The captain crossed his arms. Hannah, which hospital are you staying in? He hesitated. Replied in the city center. Everything is still a little chaotic, but I remembered the itinerary. I ran here. Finally, something was whispered in the captain's ear. The two of them analyzed Hannah suspiciously, but after a quick exchange of glances, Captain Blackwood let him stay anyway. But he had to know. This will not go unnoticed. We'll talk about that calmly later. Yes, sir, Hannah replied as he got into the car. He walked slowly down the narrow walkway. Look at the empty seats. Seems to be looking for something specific. That's when it happened. He saw his friend's face. Hey, what's wrong? Don't you see me here? Sit here, Ethan said with a smile. Some gave him room to give way. Hannah sat next to him. They shook hands and greeted each other. A brief hug, but the atmosphere is strange. Ethan soon realizes that his friend is different. Yes, that's him. Same face. Same sound. But there is something strange. More closed. Weirder behavior. The bus slowly started the road. began to rush through the windows. Ethan tried to speak. So, what kind of accident is this? Or did you hit your head? Hannah looked out the window for a few seconds. I don't know. I only remember when I left the barracks. Then I fainted. When I wake up, I'm already in the hospital. I don't remember what happened in those days. It's like having amnesia. Ethan nodded, but the expression was unconvinced. Something went wrong. Some can't be used for just one trip. Then head strikes to explain things. And what he doesn't know yet. The accident will mark the beginning of one of the biggest mysteries of the barracks. Ethan looked at his friend carefully again, still shocked by what he heard. On the bus, they sat side by side. Hannah's face is familiar though, but there was something strange about his expression. Make him look a little different. So that's what you don't reply to my message. The reason why they don't answer my phone either. Ethan asked worriedly. Hannah nodded slowly. Yes, I don't really see the passage of time. Just remember waking up in the hospital, splitting headaches. Ethan deeply sighed. He made what he thought was the most sensible proposal. Look, dude, there was such an accident. Wouldn't it be better to stay at home to recuperate? Maybe now is not the best time to carry out the task. Hannah fell. I replied. I actually thought about asking for a medical certificate. But this trip was important to me. I want to pursue a military career. I can't miss this opportunity. Friends didn't insist. But doubts remain. On the way to the airport, he tried to keep up with the conversation. Remember the old joke when he was in the barracks? And interesting episodes. Hannah responded, but the pace of speech is slow and scattered. Hollow eyes. It's like he was talking to someone who was ostensibly present, but deep down. Hannah, on the other hand, seemed far away. He looked like another person. Upon arrival at the airport, the soldiers began to get out of the car. Let's walk to the runway together. A military plane was already waiting there. That's when it happened. In the midst of the movement and noise of boarding, Sergeant Davis finally walked into Cap Blackwood. Captain. The two cautiously walked away. Take the opportunity to talk in a low voice. Cap Blackwood looked around. Make sure no one is listening. His eyes were open. Heavy breathing. How is he here? He whispered. Explain it to me. Sergeant Davis. Miss Sergeant Davis swallowed. His voice was full of nervousness. I do not know. That bastard should be dead. Though. The captain's eyes narrowed. I saw it. Sergeant Davis nodded. There is no way he will survive. Now he's there. Walking casually. Worse. There were no injuries. Capt Blackwood's gaze. Keep an eye on Hannah, who was walking beside Ethan. That's impossible. There is no way, he said almost to himself. Sergeant Davis crosses his arms. Facing superiors. Do you think he really has no memory? Did he look really confused? The captain took a deep breath. The expression on his face stiffened. I think so. But we have to be careful. He doesn't remember it now. Gotcha. But may remember later. That's not a problem. Sergeant Davis did not speak. Silence was again. Cap Blackwood interrupted. He told him in a firm voice. This jungle training will be the last. He will be the grave of this little shit warrior. At the same time, on the other side of the court, Hannah was walking beside Ethan. It's hot. The air is viscous. Suddenly, he stumbled under his feet, reached out and covered his forehead. The sudden feeling of nausea paused him for a few seconds. Any questions? As for holding his arm and asking, Hannah took a deep breath. Nod your head and try to smile. It's just that I'm nauseous. Silly. I'm fine. But Ethan wasn't convinced. His tone was serious. Almost like a father, despite the fact that he is the same age as his friends. Turkey. I think you should reconsider. First, you hit your head. You lose your memory. Now all of a sudden you start feeling terrible. It's best to stay here, in the middle of the forest. You may feel worse. Hannah did not respond. He just looked at the ground, visibly uncomfortable. As for preparing to raise my hand and say I'm going to call the captain. Let's talk to him. Explain it well. Just go home and rest. But at this moment, Hannah looked at him. shook his head. No. Please don't call the captain. I'll be fine. Believe me. Just don't bring the captain or sergeant into the matter. Ethan was silent. There was a strange feeling in that look. It was as if he was not facing his old friend. But he retreated anyway. Didn't say anything more. They walked towards the plane and left the journey to the jungle military base. It passed quietly, disembarked, stepped on solid ground. Hannah ran to the nearest corner and threw up. Ethan followed him in fear. See, I knew you shouldn't come. Hannah wiped his mouth with his shirt, trying to cover up. He said to his friend, this one must only. It's the virus or the nervousness about traveling. Don't worry. But Ethan was anything but calm. Suddenly, Sergeant, Avis and Captain Heaven appeared. They called out to Hannah with an authoritative gesture. We need to talk, said the captain. He put young soldiers, brought to an isolated room at the base. As soon as the door closes, Sergeant Davis got straight to the point. On the bus. We can't talk about everything. Repeat that accident. What happened? Hannah remained calm. Say it again. On Friday, I left the barracks. Wake up in the hospital. Headache. I don't remember anything. I felt like my head was hit. I don't know what's wrong. Capt. Blackwood watched every movement, every word. Don't you remember your last day at work? He asked, staring at Hannah. No, sir. My memory is messy. Something important is not happening. The two looked at each other. No. Nothing important. Capt. Blackwood smiled dryly. We just want to know if you're okay. At all costs. You can come to us. Hannah nodded, greeted the two respectfully. As soon as he left, he walked briskly to the bathroom on the ground floor. Closed the door and knelt in front of the bathroom. Vomited again. His face was pale, sweating. With that, he looked in the mirror, whispered to yourself. They won't do that anymore. I want revenge. The atmosphere in the room was tense. Sergeant Davis took a deep breath to say maybe he's telling the truth. He didn't seem to remember. Maybe we don't need to do anything. But Capt. Blackwood did not agree. He stared at the door and said no. We really need to. Because today I probably don't remember. Tomorrow no one is guaranteed to take this sergeant. I want that soldier to be in the coffin this week. The first week of jungle survival training. Something about Hannah seemed to be getting weirder and stranger. Something went wrong. For the friends he has always known. The man in front of him is different. This change is not just physical. It's as if he's a different person. In conversations along the way, Hannah made some strange mistakes. When Ethan recalls unforgettable moments from the past, his friend reacted confused. It's like he's never experienced anything like that. Ethan once laughed. Remember when we played with this tire? Almost drowned in the dam. Hannah frowned blankly. The tire what? Damn. Ethan laughed awkwardly, trying to cover yourself. You see, you've forgotten all that nonsense we had when we were kids. But deep down, the answer worried him. Loss of these memories. It is the memories that unite them the most. It's weird. Ethan tried to convince himself. It's all the result of a blow to the head. Maybe over time, everything will be back to normal. But there's more. Hannah avoided the locker room. Loved to take a shower alone. Always earlier or later than others. He no longer dresses in front of his classmates. Previously this was natural. He becomes more mysterious day by day. It seems that there is something to hide. Worse, the physical symptoms have not stopped either. Nausea and dizziness are common. Hannah says everything is under control. But his body doesn't think so. Someday, as they walked along a forest path, under the scorching sun and suffocating humidity, Hannah began to fall behind. He stopped suddenly, leaning against a tree. I need to stop for a moment, he gasped. Ethan immediately turned and walked towards him. Dude, what's wrong with you? He asked worriedly. Since the day you chased the bus. You've been weird. It's just that the memory is not bad. You have nausea, weakness, and so on. You don't look like it on the outside. It's Hannah, whom I know. Hannah tried to smile. I just got sick. Poison or something stupid. A little uncomfortable. I'll be fine soon. But Ethan wasn't convinced. That's when it happened. Something caught his attention. Hannah sat on a piece of wood. When he leans back, the shirt is slightly cocked. Part of the lower abdomen is exposed. Ethan frowned. His belly was bulging. It's a bit round. He knows. Hannah's attitude towards his body has always been, in the gym, stiff and vain. With a strong belly, the friend stared at his stomach for a few seconds. Didn't speak. Hannah suddenly realized. Yes, this one, he said, while tittying up the shirt quickly. I think I've been eating too much these days. I wasn't able to train properly. It's just bloating. Ethan did not respond. But my heart is becoming more and more uneasy. On this man, there were some things that didn't quite fit the Hannah he knew. At the same time, in another part of the base, Shihan had not yet looked at the soldier who had lost his memory from afar. You still think he's lying? Sergeant Davis asked. Capt Blackwood Hugs said coldly. He may even have lost his memory. That doesn't mean we're safe. He can remember it at any time. If he remembers what he saw on Friday, especially what we did to him, we're in trouble. So what do we do, Captain? Look thoughtfully at this boundless jungle. Until he said it. He's thick. Have you noticed? Very weak. I doubt he will be able to cross the river. Something goes wrong. What are you thinking? Sergeant Davis asked. Let's send him on a mission. Tell him that he needs to get supplies from across the sea. We prepare a ship. Make sure he doesn't come back. Sergeant Davis raised an eyebrow. How do you put a miniature explosive underneath? Something small is enough to damage the boat on the way. He will not be able to swim to the shore. If he sinks into the center of Han, no one will find out about him. The next day, the plan began. Hannah was called. Captain of the document number, pointing to a ship that was already moored on the riverbank. Soldier, I need you to go over and get a truckload of supplies to the other side. Ethan, who had seen everything from afar, hurried closer. Sir, I can go with him, or go alone. Hannah was not feeling well. He was sick. Something could have happened. But before the captain could react, Sergeant Davis chimed in. The order has been given to Hannah. He said no problem. Hannah looked at Ethan, tried to appease him. Rest assured, Turkey, I'll be back soon. He approached the ship with a firm step. But before boarding, he pretended to inspect the oars and hull. It's as if he's just checking the equipment, but his gaze carefully analyzed it all. That's when it happened. He saw something under his seat. The small device is attached. He was sure that it was not part of the original structure. Hannah didn't hesitate. Skillful and careful removal of the device. Carefully put it away. A few seconds later, it was thrown into the bottom of the river. Then he got on board again. Continued the journey. Glide calmly to the other side. Completed the task without any difficulty and returned. Capt Blackwood watched him from afar, somewhat uneasy. Hannah returned safely. Angrily turned to Sergeant Davis. What happened? Why didn't the ship sink? Sergeant Davis shook his head. Don't know what to say. You do not know. Maybe the guy was protected by something. There is no other explanation. This is our second attempt. But he escaped. Weeks passed. In the depths of the jungle. Time flies slowly. Capt. Blackwood Han Sergeant Davis. Go on. Tried to kill those who know their dark secrets. But it didn't work out. The heat in the jungle is unbearable. Insects constantly. Intense daily activities. But nothing attracts the soldier's attention more than one thing. Hannah's belly. He began to grow little by little. Day after day. At first, they said, the swelling may be worms. Some infections. But it soon became clear that there were other reasons as well. The volumetric shape becomes too obvious to be ignored. No one, absolutely no one has an explanation for what is coming. The group was sent into the jungle for survival training. It's been 3 months. Capt Blackwood and Sergeant Davis had planned to find a way to get rid of Hannah, but they seem to have abandoned the idea. They no longer orchestrate traps. Seems convinced. The man will never remember what happened that Friday, and what they did to him. When the two fall into this false sense of security, something even more disturbing appears in front of everyone's eyes. Hannah's belly. Pana looked at his friend. There was surprise and confusion in his eyes. Doesn't make sense. This man has always been obsessed with good nutrition, exercise and strict lifestyle habits. How did my belly suddenly get so big? And it's getting bigger. Hannah's always made up different excuses. Sometimes he says it's indigestion. Sometimes he says it's allergenic retention. But the truth is, he himself was scared. When he was alone, he spoke softly, nervously put their hands on their stomachs. That's impossible. It can't be what I thought it would be. If yes, that would ruin everything, he whispered, as if praying to wake up from a nightmare. The mission is over. Return to the main base outside the jungle. There is only one day left. Another state. Aban found Hannah sitting alone in the corner. Keep your hands on your stomach. A dazed face. Bigger, right? He commented, trying to sound natural, but he didn't hide his concerns. Hannah quickly glanced at himself. A weak smile is revealed. Oh, I see. I ate too much. It's feeling heavy these days. Hannah, don't do that. This is not normal. As for interrupting, you must see a doctor immediately. I don't need him. Turkey, once we are back at the base, everything will be back to normal. I'll go back to my daily life. Train properly. Everything will pass. Relax and trust me. As for crossing your arms, you know it's not going to happen. Hannah stood firm in his lies. He didn't want to give up. So the next day, the group left the jungle, back to the main base. The arrival of this person caused an immediate uproar. The soldiers who did not take part in the mission, all were surprised by Hannah's appearance. It's impossible not to notice that one is big and heavy. Stiff stomach again. He kept asking what was going on. He smiled as always and said it was just bloating. Improper diet. Lack of exercise. But when he was alone, the mask dropped. He was in front of the mirror. Mav closed eyes looked at his own reflection. Seems to want to find out. Some truth is hidden in your own images. Time is running out. I need to do it. I want to prove that Sergeant Avis Hocapt who the hell is Blackwood. What did those bastards do? He put his hand on his stomach, which was visibly deformed, muttered. A few more weeks passed. The total reached 8 months. Hannah's belly doesn't look like a human anymore. The scale is beyond any logical explanation. It's hugely anomalous, and more than anyone has ever seen. Any swollen abdomen should be hard. Even Sergeant Davis Hocapt. Blackwood began to get worried too, although they feign indifference. They talked. This is not a bug, or some kind of worm in the intestines, Sergeant Davis asked. If that's the case, it didn't last long. I heard he didn't want to go to the doctor. Maybe that's it. Cap Blackwood said lightly. Hopefully we don't need to do anything. What is inside him can kill him, even after so many months. I'm still not entirely convinced. He doesn't remember. Athun watched his friends every day, and more insisted that he seek medical assistance. Hannah, this has gone beyond all limits. You can no longer pretend that everything is fine. This is crazy. See how big this is. Hannah looked away, trying to smile. But the voice is no longer firm. He will subside at some point. It just takes longer. That's when it was. The pain began. At first, they were soft, but over time, they become unbearable. Hannah rolled in the bathroom, biting a towel to cover his screams. Sometimes I could barely walk. The contractions become intense, accompanied by sweating, dizziness, and increasing pain. But can't hold on for long. I need to do something, and do it as soon as possible, he said to himself breathlessly. One night, Hannah in the restaurant. His belly was too big. He had to move the chair off the table. He carefully stroked the wound with his hand, trying to hide your pain. That's when it happened. He got up and went to fetch water. After Capt. Blackwood Han, Sergeant Davis around. Hearing something stopped him. There's a game tonight. Playing cards. Beer, said the sergeant. With other officers. Is that right? The captain asked. You ready? Not back until after 10 p.m. Hannah listened intently. Pretend not to hear anything. but the brain is spinning fast. And after they left the office, it's going to be him doing what he needs to do. The best timing. I waited a few months for my opportunity. Then he returned to the table. Sit next to Ethan. Tin continued to look at him with some concern. You know you can trust me, right? Ethan asked, looking into his eyes. The pop-trailed soldier hesitated. Why do you say that? Because I know you. I know something very wrong is happening. That belly. You're not just there because of an accident. It's not just a trauma. It's like you're a different person. Hannah lowered head. I told you, it's just swelling. This accident left me confused. Ethan was angry. Turkey, don't make a fuss. Look how big he is. Someone here makes fun of you. Say you're pregnant. And you see. No, it's not because you're a man. That belly was moving. I see it. I felt it. Do you still want to pretend that everything is fine? There was silence. Ethan took a deep breath. Go on. You don't even remember our previous conversations. How can you forget everything about a friend? So many years. What happened? You've got to tell me. Hannah was stunned for a moment before he reacted. Then in a deep but firm voice. Look into your friend's eyes. Believe me, everything will work out faster than you think. And in that look. But there's something you can't ignore. Hannah knows something. And Ethan couldn't figure out his best friend. And we continue to find out Hannah. But the hell is going on? Eventually find out how that person got pregnant. And what did the Captain General Han do before? I want to know. If you have a son or daughter today, would you give them a name? Don't forget to tell me in which city you watched this film. Your comments. Very important for us in our channel. Now let's go back to our story. He was in pain. Went to bed very early. Bun tried to insist on staying with him. But his friends told him he needs to rest. He just wanted some quiet. It's just a strategy. He needed to escape. Especially away from Ethan, who is getting closer and closer to the truth. In the bedroom, he piled pillows and blankets under the sheets. It takes the shape of a lying corpse. He turned off the lights. Closed the door and walked through the empty hallway. Came to Cap Blackwood's office. He needed to find proof. It must be done as soon as possible. As soon as I entered the office, he felt a sharp pain in his stomach. He groaned softly. Lean against the wall. A little more. A little more. Everything will come to an end. He whispered. Try to convince yourself. You can handle it yourself. He struggled to the top table. Opened the bottom drawer. Inside is a beige folder. An emblem of the army is printed on the cover. It's got me in a couple of weeks. All the suspicious spreadsheets that have been trying to find. Documents and budgets. His hands were shaking. He pulled his phone out of his pocket. Start taking pictures of these documents. Page by page. But he didn't have time to put his phone away. Then I heard the sound of the door opening. The door opened suddenly. There they are. Captain Blackwood was the first to enter. Squinting. Sergeant Davis followed. They left the game earlier. Have a private conversation. Didn't expect to find anyone, especially Hannah, searching their drawers. See him with the folder in his hand. The captain was angry. Sim clenched his fists. Damn it, he whispered. I knew it. I knew it. You don't lose your memory at all. They all followed him coldly. How did you survive that night? He asked. Still not understanding, Hannah staggered and put his hand on his stomach. The pain becomes more intense. He took a step back. Hap Blackwood didn't even wait for an answer. He turned to Chung. In a firm tone, he said, I don't care. He won't leave alive this time. This bastard will learn not to go where he shouldn't. At the same time, on the other side of the hut, Ethan was restless. Hannah suddenly felt pain. Hurry to bed. Something is wrong. He decided to go to the bedroom to see his friend. When he opened the door, he was surprised. The beds were so neatly made. He reached out and pulled at the sheets. Everything there. It's all fake. Pillows and blankets piled up. But what? Where are you now? He whispered. Put your hands on your head. Back to the office. Cap Blackwood pulled a gun from his belt. A black revolver with a silencer. That's the end of it. Soldiers. But Hannah ignored the severe pain. Swift action was taken. He was impulsive, pushed the table onto the two of them. The paper flew, and the lights moved. He ran out the back door with his stomach in one hand. He ran away. Catch him! The captain shouted, tripping over a chair. Hannah arrived at the second gate, lucky to see a bunch of keys hanging on. He didn't even think about locking the door from the outside. Continued to run through the dimly lit corridors. And that's when it happened. He met Ethan. "What are you doing?" His friend shouted out of breath. "Why run so much?" Hannah wanted to speak, but he frowned painfully. His breathing was irregular. "Legs can barely support." "He's going to get me out of here now," he pleaded in a faint voice. "I'll take you, but if you're not feeling well, I'll take you to the hospital. Take me wherever you want. Just take me out of here." As for not wasting time, helped him to the parking lot, drive a car out of the barracks, flee at full speed. Hannah groaned in pain with every step. There was chaos in the barracks. Cap Blackwood Han Sergeant Davis managed to get out of the office. He is being searched for throughout the dormitory. When they found out that one of the cars was missing, it was Ethan's car. They understood immediately. They fled. "Sergeant Davis roaring hospital," Cap Blackwood said. "That bottom line, Belly, that's where he goes." There have been many emergencies in military hospitals. When Drive Michael carried Hannah to the office, doctors and nurses ran through the hallway. At that moment, everything is connected to the beginning of the story. "Get up." Hannah screamed in pain as she lay in the operating room. The doctor couldn't believe it. The man he saw, everything that was said before, or at least he's self-righteous. A man's words are lies. The truth is there, right in front of him. You can see what the pregnant man will do. Pregnant woman. This makes him biologically a woman. Hannah's voice became a little feminine because of the pain. Suddenly it became gentle. It's almost like pleading. "I'm sorry, doctor. I lied. I'm a woman, but the men outside don't know yet." No. Tone. Expressions. Everything has changed. There is no doubt about it anymore. Liu Harry does not have Hannah. The woman behind the young soldier's guard uniform. Doctor was silent. The shock was too great. But there was no time to ask questions. The abdomen is large and hard. The interval between contractions is getting shorter and shorter. I need to take action. He has expanded. "I have to be forceful," he said, while controlling the situation. Harry nodded with tears in his eyes. It's in the operating room. Between screams, tears, and the truth finally revealed, the first cry filled the entire operating room. The cry of a baby, breaking the deafening silence in the hospital. Soon after, a second cry rang out. Twins. The best-kept secrets of that military base have just come to light. The atmosphere outside the surgery center was tense. Ethan sat at the reception, tried to remember everything that happened in those few hours. His best friend was in severe pain. Escaped with him from the barracks. Now in the operating room. Maybe in labor. There was a mess in my head. He could barely clear his mind. That's when it happened. The hospital rang out with the Sergeant Sheriff Davis and Capt. Blackwood's hurried footsteps. They stopped in front of Ethan. His face was full of anger. "Where is Hannah?" Capt. Blackwood asked directly. "Hannah, you're with the doctor, is it?" Ethan replied. Stood up in confusion. "What did he say?" the sergeant asked. "Yeah, eyes on the soldiers. How he said something to me. He didn't tell me anything." "What are you talking about?" Ethan replied, more and more confused. "Where exactly?" Capt. Blackwood asked impatiently. "At the surgery center," he replied with a point. "But he couldn't get in. They are taking care of him." But the two didn't listen. He immediately turned and ran down the hallway. Ignored Ethan's protests. But young soldiers were there. In the middle of the reception, there were many thoughts that plagued him. His friend is pregnant. His superiors were desperate. Doesn't make any sense. And just in his thoughts, nothing surprises him at times. Something even more ridiculous happened. He looked at the hospital door. Stunned. Right in front of their eyes, Hannah stood in the doorway. Limp. There is a scar on his face. I'm not the same Hannah he sent to the hospital. Not the one with a big belly. Hannah with a nervous face. That's another Hannah, dressed in casual clothes. Skinny, same face, but with a completely different expression. Ethan was taken aback. Hannah walked in breathlessly. My sister. Where? Ethan asked directly. Ethan took a step back. Still shocked. Sister. What are you talking about? Where is the belly? What happened? The surgery center also began to fall into chaos. Harry was already holding two newborns. Still trying to get a message from the doctor. Doctor. Michael explains everything. The doctor listened to him in silence. Shocked. I need to do this. Doctor. I can't leave my brother alone. He came to me. Because I'm also a soldier. He's hurt. The two men tried to kill him. So, I have to do it. But it was interrupted. The door slammed open. Cap Blackwood, Han Sargent, Davis burst in, panting. Look for Hannah. When they saw Hannah, or rather, when Harry was holding two babies in his arms, they came to a screeching halt. The captain's eyes narrowed. You must come with us now. Harry looked at them. The voice is firm. To the first time in front of them, he answered in a feminine tone. I'm not the person you're looking for. Sergeant. Davis was paralyzed. Capt Blackwood appears to be in a state of denial. Then the door opened again. Ethan came in. This is followed by the real Hannah, still limping. But the expression is firm. Speak to the men. It's game over. He said. You lose. My sister has already sent me the evidence I need. Everything is already in the hands of the police. What followed was absolute silence. The captain touched his head. In a look of confusion. What the hell is going on? What's going on? Same issue as Drive Michael. Ethan. Even Sergeant Davis's head ringed. They seemed as surprised as everyone else. That's when it was. Everything is starting to become clear. To understand how it all started, it is necessary to go back in time again. Friday. Before going on a trip to the jungle, Hannah has done his homework. Ready to go home. Ethan, who had just left, smiled goodbye. On Monday, we went on a trip together. Everything seems calm, until by chance, Hannah walked into the sheriff's office to report. The office was empty. He walked over to the table, put down the file, but then he noticed something. A drawer that barely closes. There is a document inside. It can be seen that the curiosity is too great. He took the newspaper, read and read. The blood in his veins was cold. Misappropriation of money for the transportation of funds to the army. Deposit into a personal bank account. Find. Sergeant Davis, Sergeant Officer. Captain of the document number. Hannah couldn't believe what he was seeing. This largely explains the equipment's uniforms. Reasons for poor food quality. This is a crime. He will report. But before he could walk out of the office, then I heard the door open. Sound. The two went in. Hannah was seen holding the papers in his hand. You've seen too much, said the captain. They tried to convince him to shut up and join them. I say they need people like him, a person who is able to facilitate the whole process. Hannah adamantly refused. I will never accept this. What do you think? I'm not a criminal. He tried to break free, but I felt a hard blow to the head. Everything has gone dark. A few hours later, Hannah woke up. Hands and feet are tied, dragged by them to the bridge. He was still at a loss. Ask them what they are going to do. You will remain silent forever. You've made your decision, said the captain. They threw him into the river. The current washed him away. But he miraculously broke free, swam to the shore and survived. Despite the fact that he suffered a serious injury to his leg, he also suffered a head injury. Had he limped back to his sister's house. Terry recently moved to the city, also served in the army, but he worked in another state. They are biologically identical twins. That night, A began to draw up a plan. Seeing my brother injured, fight and fight, almost dying, Harry knew what he had to do without hesitation. There is no way to get away with it. Somebody's got to go. Make those who are responsible pay. He knew that Hannah's testimony alone was not enough. He needs concrete, indisputable evidence. And for this, there is only one way to penetrate his place. Hannah though was shocked at first, yet still against this idea. Harry, are you crazy? They almost killed me, if they find out. But he was determined. There was no hesitation. They've hurt you enough. They won't catch me. I look a lot like you, although I am of the opposite sex. But because of my training, our bodies are similar. These two people are almost identical, is the kind even in childhood. Periods can also cause confusion for twins. And hair you only needs to make some adjustments. Cut off your hair, wrap your already restrained breasts with a ribbon, wear a loose uniform, and spend the whole week in training to perfectly imitate my brother's voice. When you look in the mirror for the last time before leaving, he didn't see Harry anymore. It's Hannah. He's ready. Prepared to face criminals. Prepared to enter the serpents and destroy everything. The plan is clear. Pretend he's lost his memory. Gather evidence. And expose the true colors of both of them before the law. But there was one thing that even he didn't expect. In the first few days of taking over from his brother, Harry discovers that she is pregnant with her ex-boyfriend. This relationship came after she moved to a new city, and living near my brother ended not long ago. As a result, his belly grew bigger day after day. The mystery of his situation also grows. Back to the present. In the hospital, Harry holds two babies in her arms, staring at Capt Blackwood. Sergeant Davis. The criminal's mask fell. It's over. All the photos, documents, evidence have been sent. The police and superiors already know everything. The two men looked at each other in despair. They are still trying to act. Finally reached for the gun. The captain tried to escape. But they are slower than Ethan. Ethan. A quick move. It made them all trip up. They fell to the ground, stunned and defeated. At this moment, the real Hannah stepped forward. Take up arms. For maiming. It's over, he said without hesitation. A few minutes later, the two were handcuffed and locked up. He prepared for every crime they commit. Take its toll. After Hannah recovered, stronger than ever, back to the troops. No longer a soldier. Rather, he served as a captain. Now there is a lot of respect around him. Honor and justice. Harry is also able to take off his costume. Grow long hair. Put yourself back on. Favorite clothes. Immerse yourself in your child. He temporarily left army life, but his usual bravery was gone. At this point, this one is pregnant, become a crowd of ridicule. The story of the man who doubted and doubted the object, that finally came to an end with the revelation of the truth. It's not just a mission accomplished, it is a story that ends with justice harming life. Thank you for watching today. If you find the video interesting, please subscribe, like and comment. I will try to bring you more good works.